Hello. I've just read chapter 1 of The Last of the Jedi. Dark Warning. Is it Dark Warning? Yes, it's Dark Warning. So this does literally pick up where the last book left off. So I suggest if you haven't watched my Last of the Jedi The Desperate Mission reviews, you can go back and watch those. There's a playlist for the Last of the Jedi book series I've made, and also a playlist for the Desperate Mission only. So, yeah. You can go and watch those if you want to catch up with my thoughts on the series so far. But anyway, we start this chapter off in the spaceport, in the Red Twin spaceport, and Obi-Wan, Ferris and Trevor have spotted Boba Fett. And Boba Fett is searching for them in a pattern that looks random, but is in actuality not random at all. And it literally does say in the book, in a pattern that would seem random to any ordinary person, but to an experienced, but to an adept tracker like Boba Fett, it wasn't. It was obviously a pattern, or even to a Jedi like Obi-Wan. So, yeah. Obi-Wan, Ferris and Trevor start scheming. They know they need to get out of there. They know Fett is going to find them soon. They need to get a new ship. And Trevor says that he can steal one, and he starts going through what he would do. And Obi-Wan stops him, telling him, "No, we already got Fett on our backs. We do not need a security on our backs as well." And so he says that they're going to have to go and make a trade. They can't make a deal that is... They have to go and find a pilot and a good ship. A good pilot and a good ship. And they can't make a deal that is too good, but they need to make a good deal. But they still need to make the deal seem good. So they leave the ship and go into the spaceport. And we get a little bit of information surrounding how transport works. Again, this is... I forgot about this, but it did come to mind just before I read it, or as I was reading it. In the end of the book, in the last one, it is mentioned that the Red Twin spaceport has got very minimal Imperial control. Again, minimal, hasn't got Imperial control completely. It just isn't monitored as well. But it does still feel a bit when they start talking about how so many people were in the port, having to go through all these security checks, having to keep waiting, and it was taking forever because of the Empire's takeover, and it did seem a bit like, is that really how it should be? But never mind. Anyway, Boba Fett eventually just winds up changing his pattern and almost immediately spots Obi-Wan, Ferris and Trevor. And for some reason, Trevor just goes missing for the rest of the chapter. He just doesn't... It's just not mentioned. Because once Boba Fett starts opening fire, Ferris and Obi-Wan start dodging all the bolts, and then Trevor just goes and leaps under a ship. And presumably he's there for the rest of the chapter, because it's not mentioned in the chapter again. So I don't know where Trevor is, but apparently he's dived under a ship to hide from Boba Fett. And we do get a funny moment where the pilot in the ship that Trevor ducked under, he starts noticing Boba Fett's blast bolts are firing into the hull of it, and he starts swearing at him. Well, we're told he starts swearing at him. It's not actually done in the book. It's not actually said in the book, but it is seen. And then Boba Fett aims his West Star 34 pistols at him, and it distracts him. Um, and he, of course, stops there then. But anyway, it did open up a diversion for Ferris and Obi-Wan. I can't remember what the diversion was, though. I'll have to check quickly. Right, it's pretty much just allows... It pretty much just allows Obi-Wan 2 seconds to think. And he went and leaps at Boba Fett to try... He started to charge at Boba Fett, doing the saying when in doubt, thinking when in doubt, do the unexpected. And he winds up leaping into the air and trying to kick Boba Fett's left knee. Because he notices Boba Fett is slightly off balance. But Boba Fett does reverse direction, whatever that's supposed to be. And, look, I googled it, I could find nothing, and, you know, I'm not going to spend the next 20 minutes trying to find what it means when I'm reading the chapter. So, you know, but if you know, leave it in the comments below. But continuing on, we then have Obi-Wan. Fett holds his ground, and Obi-Wan gets an elbow to the head, and it is mentioned that Jango Fett did a similar thing on Kamino. But I do not remember anything like that in the Kamino fight in Attack of the Clones, so maybe that's a hint to go and watch it again. Ferris starts charging, and then Dahahan makes himself known by blowing up a ship that knocks over Obi-Wan and Ferris. Obi-Wan, the crowd and Spaceport starts going back into the hangar for cover to watch the fights, because it's been a boring afternoon. They finally got some action to watch. Presumably some of them may have popcorn. They may be going over to the popcorn stand. I'd like to think about that. I like to think there may be a popcorn stand in the Red Twin Spaceport, or there's just some people there literally watching the fights, eating popcorn. I think that would be funny. But Ferris makes a very quippy remark once Obi-Wan tells him that he needs to go and distract. He needs to go and take on Dahahan and distract him. While Obi-Wan needs to get out of sight of the crowd so he can use his lightsaber, because if he uses his lightsaber, he's going to draw attention to himself, and that's the one thing he doesn't want to do. He doesn't need to have more people coming after him, and he's got to get back to Luke. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, he does mention that he needs to get back to Luke. He can't lead them over to Luke. He needs to stop Inquisitor Malorum, because he's getting close to finding out about Luke and Leia. So there is a whole lot of stuff that Obi-Wan has to do before he can go back to Tatooine. He needs to go back to Tatooine without being tracked, to not lure Boba Fett and Dahahan to him. So there's a whole lot going on. But then he uses the Force to leap up onto the roof of the hangar somehow. That confused me, because it was a hangar that wasn't mentioned before. Now, and if are they in the hangar or not? Because that's usually where the ships are stored. So it was a bit of confusing, but oh well. But yeah, they leap up into the he leaps up onto the roof of the hangar. Boba Fett flies up there, and everyone is able to kind of duck under a dormer, and he does start, and Boba Fett does start opening fire on him again. Fett gets close. Obi-Wan then is about to leap out, and Fett predicts it, and he fires a concussion missile from his jetpack, which knocks Obi-Wan off the roof. He uses his mind to slow down time, but I'm pretty sure it just means, because it says slow down the moment, but I'm pretty sure it just means to speed up the speed he's thinking and move faster. And he uses his grapnel line to pull himself back onto the roof. Then what happens? Yes, so then he gets back on the roof, he swings himself back up, he starts charging Fett, he cuts Fett's blaster in half, and then Boba grabs Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan's lightsaber is knocked away, and he starts trying to push Obi-Wan off the roof. And Obi-Wan instead seizes Boba Fett's arms rather than trying to break away and leaps off the roof, but Boba Fett then tries to take that into his advantage by using his jetpack and then trying to slam Obi-Wan into the wall. I think he does it a few times because I think it is actually describes that that Obi-Wan actually got hit in the wall a few times. The way, at least it makes it seem like it. And then another one, and then on one of them, Obi-Wan lifts up his legs, and uses the Force to absorb the blow and knock Boba Fett back and loosen Fett's grip on him, and Obi-Wan lands, cushioning the landing with the Force, obviously. He summons his lightsaber. Ferrus comes running through the crowd as Taharn opens fire again with his head laser cannon, and ends up levelling half of the hangar or something like that. So Taharn really is he really has got quite a powerful head, doesn't he? I never thought I'd say that. Oh yeah, when Obi-Wan did tell Ferrus to go and distract Taharn, he did say, "Why do I always..." Let me find the line. "Why do I always get the mean guy in a humorous way?" Not in a mean way, but in a humorous way. But Obi-Wan picks up Ferrus, and it's just like that. He didn't come all this way just to lose Ferrus. Again, he came to find Ferrus to ensure, for not quite knowing why, but now he knows it's to help him form the rebellion. But then they leap through the levelled gap of the hangar, and Fett and Taharn follow. They cut off that exit. There are two massive doors that are locked that Obi-Wan and Ferrus are trying to get to, and that's where we end. Ferrus and Obi-Wan are trapped, and so how are they going to get out? They come back next week. But yeah, I enjoyed this chapter. This isn't related to this book, it's related to the last one, the last chapter of the last book. I ran the last chapter of the last book in my head probably 20, 30 times since I read it, just to remember it. So yeah, so I am glad I've been able to move on to the next book and get into the next chapter. But yeah, I'm enjoying this so far. Again, it is a continuation of the previous book, and it literally picks up where the last one left off. And honestly, there wasn't really anywhere else they could have Jude Watson could have really picked up. You know, the way it was set up. Yeah, it had to kind of be this. I am curious as to how Boba Fett and Taharn found them so quickly, though. I am curious to that. Do they have a tracker on the ship? Was their ship Taharn's? Because that's what it definitely seems like it was. It seems like it was. But I could be wrong on that. Maybe it isn't Taharn's. But I have a feeling it was. So maybe that's how they were able to track it. Maybe it's like a situation with IG-88 where because Taharn is a cyborg, IG-88's a droid. Maybe it's similar to IG-88 and the IG-2000 where the IG-88s and the IG-2000. The IG-2000's like a an extension of the IG-88s. Maybe it's like that, but in Saharan's case, he kind of knows where the ship is or something like that. I'm curious to know how it turns out. So, yeah. But yeah, I'm enjoying the book so far. I'm looking forward to what's going to happen. I'm looking forward to seeing Inquisitor Sankor, because again, I know how he's going to wind up. Plummets to its own demise because of its own wrist rocket. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this will progress. And again, I'm enjoying Ferris's character. I like the humour he has. It's very quippy and it's quite funny. I still like that line from the last book where it was, "Oh, I was getting ready to take the wheels off his chair." Just before Malorman walked in. So, yeah, I think, yeah, I'm enjoying Ferris's character. I think he's quite funny. Maybe there's a new line that's to compete. Which is, "Why do I always get the mean guy?" So, yeah, but we'll see. Maybe Ferris will have a standout line each chapter. Let's hope so. Hey, I'm curious to see where Trevor is. Literally, where is Trevor? Because he was completely absent after he ducked under the ship. Is he still hiding under the ship? Is he? Oh, another thing that I found quite funny was that Trevor was described as having quite a big influence in the black market on USA, and for about half a minute afterwards, all I could think of was Trevor, this 13-year-old, being heralded as like the leader of the black market on USA because he had such a big influence on the black market on USA. So I found that quite funny. I found that quite funny. But it's a 13-year-old. That's why I found it funny. But yeah, I'm curious to see where Trevor is, and I have a feeling he may be the one that saves Obi-Wan and Ferris. But I'll have to read on and see. So yeah. This is a shorter book than the last one. The last one was 168 pages. This is 139, which, you know, that's not too bad, really. The Dark Forces books went up to about, at maximum, 128. So, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to read the Last of the Jedi books, because they were so short. You know, they weren't like Plagueis where they went on for 300 pages, or like Heir to the Empire or the Dark Nest or the New Jedi Order books where they go on for about 300 pages. You know, these are hundreds and something up to 60 or so pages long. So, you know, that's why I kind of wanted to read The Last of the Jedi, because it weren't much longer than the Dark Forces novels. So yeah, but yeah, I'm enjoying Last of the Jedi Dark Warning so far, and I'll keep you updated with my thoughts on the other chapters. How many chapters are there actually? "18 chapters. Okay. So yeah, that's actually not. I thought 20 chapters wasn't too bad for 168 pages. 18 for only 139, was it? 38, 39. That's actually not even. That's actually a little bit better than 120 pages for 168. But yeah. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and goodbye.